Hey everyone, my name is Max Browerman, coming at you here live from the Pittsburgh headquarters for Field Environmental Instruments. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about mercury vapor detection. So first of all, why is it important that we talk about this subject? Mercury is toxic in multiple forms, which we're about to get to here in a second. The first of these forms is methylmercury, sometimes otherwise known as organic mercury, just because it's attached to a carbon chain. But the big reason that this is an issue is because it bioaccumulates. It can lead to long-term chronic effects. The way bioaccumulation works is that smaller organisms will consume mercury, which then get eaten by larger organisms. Those organisms then don't have the proper functions in their bloodstream or in their body to get rid of the mercury. So then when something bigger comes along and eats that larger organism, it just is gaining more and more mercury over time. So you can kind of see that described in the picture here on the left, where the smaller fish are eaten by the bigger fish are eaten by the humans, and we get all of the mercury that was eaten by all those smaller fishes combined into our bodies. Here you can see a couple lists of the types of fish that you can catch or you can buy that would have really high amounts of mercury, and can typically be foods that you don't want to eat a large amount of, just because you might end up with more mercury in you than you would expect. Some of the symptoms that you would see are muscle fatigue, vision loss, pins and needles, and obviously if you get enough mercury into your bloodstream, it can lead to death. The other type of mercury that we want to talk about is elemental mercury. So this is more of like an acute hazard, something that you would see in a thermometer or maybe like dental fillings. It can be used in mining, it can be used in jewelry. The primary mode of ingestion for elementary mercury is through inhalation. So this elemental mercury is spilled, and then it immediately becomes a vapor. And then when you breathe that in, there are acute symptoms that go with that. Things like respiratory failure, things like pulmonary edema, and things that will eventually lead to your death. Those symptoms show up in a couple of hours as opposed to over your entire lifetime as compared to methylmercury. So elemental mercury is definitely more of an acute hazard, something that needs to be more quickly responded to compared to methylmercury. So we have a couple different mercury vapor analyzers here at Field Environmental. The first one that I want to talk about is the Jerome J405, which is this unit right here. This unit uses a gold film sensor as compared to the J505, which uses a different type of sensor that we'll talk about later. This one, the common uses are normally things like ambient air analysis, industrial hygiene. It can be used on mining sites where mercury is prevalent. It can be used in emergency response. Anywhere that you would think that there is mercury vapor, this unit is going to do the job for you. Some of the nice things about this unit is there's a lot of internal scrubbers. So there's not filters that you need to put on the end to filter out things that will give you false positives, things like chlorine or ammonia. On top of that, it will do field regeneration as well. So the gold sensor inside of here does need to be regenerated every so often, but it is something that this unit can do on its own and not something you would have to send in for service, which is a nice perk. Some of the specifications here on screen, you can read all of those. I won't really bore you by going through each one individually. Some things to note though is that there's two different types of units that this will read in, both microgram and milligram per cubic meter. It will read in both sample and survey mode, so you can get those live readings or you can data log. And those data logging points, it will store up to 20,000 test results. So really extensive data log on this unit. It will easily last as long as you need to sample for. So the other unit to talk about is the Jerome J505. This is the newer unit, and it uses atomic fluorescence spectroscopy. Bunch of fancy words there. But really what that means is that it's using light to ionize mercury. And then once it hits that ionization potential, the mercury will then release the light back down. And then the light that is released, as you can see here in this kind of schematic, the light that's released is then picked up by an internal sensor. And it can kind of calculate how much mercury is in the air based on how much light is being detected by that sensor. Here's some of the specifications for the Jerome 505. We've got 3 different units that it will measure in. It will do microgram and milligram, similar to the 405, but it will also do nanogram per cubic meter. It's also got 3 modes of operation as opposed to the 2. So we'll do both standard and quick response times, but it will also do a search, which helps you pinpoint exactly where you've got mercury vapors coming from. As far as data logging goes, this one has a slightly lower data log, only 10,000 points of data. But again, I think that's more than enough to get your sampling done. Here's just a little bit of a comparison between the 2. You can see the detection ranges, the different resolutions and the accuracies. The batteries for both of these are pretty healthy. For the 405, it will last for about 24 hours, whereas for the 505, it should last at least 10 hours. The 505, because it uses the atomic spectroscopy, uses a little bit more power than the 405, which is why it has slightly lower battery life. But then you can also see the flow rates are really comparable between the 2, only about a 250 milliliter per minute difference. But that's just because of the different sensors as well. So as with anything, regular maintenance is going to be the key to longevity and key to accurate samples with these units. The biggest thing for the J405 is always going to be the field regeneration. So with the gold sensor, that sensor does need field regeneration every once in a while. I would recommend doing that at the beginning or the end of the day, as it takes about 45 minutes to an hour and needs to be plugged into AC power as it does that regeneration. Both of these units also go in for annual calibration to Jerome. So anytime you get a unit from Field Environmental, you can be guaranteed that these will be in factory calibration and within those standards. Other things to think about are changing filters as you need them. There are small filters that go right in the tips of these that you can change yourself. There are also 0 filters that we'll send with the units, so you can take a 0 in between samples or before, at the start of your day or at the end of the day. I always recommend zeroing your unit before sampling though, just to make sure that you're getting accurate samples. And with that, I'd like to just say thank you for listening. That was kind of our talk on mercury vapor analysis. Again, if you have any questions at all on maintenance or the specifications of these units, please call into Field Environmental. We are happy to field your calls and help you out while you're in the field with these instruments. And with that, I'll just throw you back to the HAZWOPER.